Hi, I'm Uchechi. I go to Lincoln Sudbury Regional High School.
Hi, I'm Dania Myers and I go to Wellesley High School.
Hi, my name is Mary and I go to Lincoln Sudbury Regional High School. We decided to work on a project about gentrification because of the immense impact it has had on our communities in Boston. Gentrification and redlining have had a generational impact and and has caused generational trauma within racial minorities, such as shorter life expectancies, higher cancer rates, more birth defects, higher incidence of diabetes, asthma, and cardiovascular disease.
Gentrification is a process in which a poorer area of a city experiences an influx of middle class or wealthy people who renovate and rebuild homes and businesses. This often results in an increase of property values and the displacement of earlier, usually poorer residents. Boston was ranked the third most intensely gentrified city in the United States between 2013 and 2017. 23.1% of Boston neighborhoods were gentrified between 2013 and 2017. This is a photo that shows the neighborhoods in Boston. In 2019, the National Community Reinvestment Coalition, or the NCRC, reported that Roxbury is vulnerable to gentrification since 81% of its residents are not homeowners. South End, Jamaica Plain, and Dorchester has seen the largest decline in people of color. This will lead to culture displacement. Culture displacement occurs because of changes in the aspects of a neighborhood that have provided long-term residents with a sense of belonging and allowed residents to live their lives in familiar ways. This map shows some of the areas in Boston that have been gentrified.
Roxbury. Roxbury was once a community filled with Black residents, including civil rights activist Malcolm X. Many homes, businesses, schools, and churches were torn down, and hundreds of new residential buildings were displayed as a result. The transition continues in Roxbury, for example, a lot of college students are moving in which makes it more expensive for housing. There is a lot more work to be done. Black communities should take bold action because we need to make affordable housing, not just the bare minimum. This first picture shows the Roxbury mural that was on the corner of Warren and Clifford Street. The mural had a black and white portrait of Nelson Mandela with the words behind it, Roxbury Love. Roxbury residents were shocked of the destruction of our beloved neighborhood mural. The second picture shows the new rename of Dudley Square, which is now known Nubian Square. Do you know where the name Nubian comes from? The name comes from members of a group dark-skinned people that formed a powerful empire between Egypt and Ethiopia from the 6th to the 17th century. The last picture shows the new resident inn by the Marriott. The Marriott says this hotel sits on the south end downtown Boston, but in reality, it sits dead center in the heart of Roxbury. They are erasing our history, erasing people of color in our neighborhoods.
This picture is from the 1930s. It is a map of redlining. The blue and green were the most desirable areas for people to live, which is where most white people live, while red is undesirable and where most people of color live. Green and blue meant it was safe for banks to loan, while red was not. They determined which color for which areas based on the percentage of people of color. Although this practice is over, it still affects us today. This is a map from the present day of how redlining's consequences continue to impact us today. The green to the yellow areas show that it's better opportunities for people to get, and from orange to red it shows that it's not. This has also led to gentrification. African Americans were asked more questions about their qualifications if they tried to buy a house. You will also have seen this tactic from the 1890s to the 1960s, called the literacy test, where African Americans had to take a test from the government in order to vote. If African Americans were lucky enough to buy a house, they are 8 times more likely to have higher loans for the house than their white counterparts. They are also directed to other communities which were lower priced homes. Here is a picture of the train stop next to the Fairmont commuter rail line. The commuter rail line passes through Dorchester and Mattapan after local residents demanded that the city of Boston put a stop for residents. However, this came with a consequence. Residents who live in Mattapan fear losing their homes after the rent is risen.
Although this is the end of our presentation, we would like to leave you with a question. How do we stop gentrification from happening and erasing most of the Black history in our neighborhoods?